We are the Autobots.
Yeah. And that is our project.
So the natural disaster that we chose were floods, because floods are a big problem in the United States, especially in the southeastern area where hurricanes occur. So, and sometimes people get stranded in floods. They get stranded for like maybe days or even weeks. So we decided to create a drone that can give supplies to people that are stranded when they need supplies.
So our idea is the autonomous groundwater apparatus, or AGWA, and it is a small drone that sort of resembles a speedboat in shape that has the purpose of carrying long-term supplies to those that require it. And its source of propulsion is 2 treads on the bottom that give it, because they're grooves, it gives propulsion on both land and water, so it's relatively efficient. And because it's small and versatile, dozens, possibly hundreds, can be released in a large population and can efficiently deliver supplies.
So some existing solutions are, of course, helicopters and planes, but those aren't very cost effective. So there are a couple of new solutions that people are trying to work on, and they're similar ideas, except that they are flying drones, and our idea is a more on Earth type of drone. It has a unique driving base that...
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the features of our drone. First feature is the driving base. Now the drive system consists of 2 motors and 2 individual gearboxes and 2 individual treads.
You can look in the corner.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's our drive system, and pretty much the tracks have grooves in them. So when the drone is floating on water, the grooves will actually catch the water, and since there's 2 of them, it can turn and it can go on water as well as land.
These act as a sort of paddle in the tread.
Next feature is the host of sensors. So there's a large system of sensors that would come with this drone, and each sensor would help the drone detect hazards and obstacles on its path to deliver supplies. Which brings me into the next feature, which is the communication. So let's say, for an example, there's a tree that falls down on the predetermined path of a drone to get to a certain area to deliver supplies. And it detects that there's a falling tree with an infrared sensor, touch sensor, something like that. And it can communicate to other drones that need to go to the same area, don't use this route, there's something blocking it, find another way. So that way you can efficiently deliver supplies even when there's hazards in the route.
Do you have any questions?
I have lots of questions. This is amazing. First, I would like to know what each one of you did on this particular project. So what role did you play on the research? And
Well, I was the lead researcher, so I did these existing solutions, and I worked on making the presentation. They sent me their work, and I edited it and stuff like that. So.
I worked on the problem, what I presented.
I did the sensors. I figured out and wrote about the sensors and the communication, and I did the drawing in the background. I guess my role is more generic. I conceptualized this project, and they, of course, made it more realistic, come into more reality.
have you done any kind of thought, given any thought to how much your drone will be able to carry? What the kinds of supplies that it will have?
Yeah.
We researched like earthquake kits, sort of in crates, and they're not too expensive if you get them in bulk. And I mean, I don't know how big they are. They're probably about this big. But
What
they
a
have
robot would be carrying,
supplies for like a week.
what a robot would be carrying would be, what people need to survive. So emergency food rations, medical supplies, clothing, stuff like that, water, and actually that was another feature that we thought of. That would be a hydraulic lift in the cargo bays. So I mean, if the area is flooded, they'll either be in the second story or on the roof.
If I was
There would be a hydraulic lift that could lift food, water.
I mean, people would naturally try to get up, and so the hydraulic lift would help as a type of a conveyor belt to get the food up to the people wherever they are.
Okay. So have you gone out and spoken to people who are specialists?
Yeah, we tried.
You tried.
We all, there was on the FLL website, there were experts that you can email. I at least like 20 questions I asked. I don't think I got any responses.
Okay, so you've done some outreach, but you
Right,
haven't
yeah,
heard back
yeah,
from
yes.
experts yet. What about taking your ideas out and sharing them with emergency responders?
The presentation that we're showing you.
It actually closed itself down.
Oh, did?
It went to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I don't want to.
Well, we put it on the website so others could share it.
Oh, so you have a website?
Yeah, okay.
Well,
It's not a website. So the presentation is made on a website called Prezi. And Prezi is pretty much a more unique form of PowerPoint, and you can share it on the web pretty much.
Okay, so you were showing me just one slide from Prezi.
It was
Does
the
like-
overview, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it was
the
the
overview
overview.
slide. Okay, so it moves around. Do you want to show me your
Sure.
Prezi?
So,
It really went
it
to
should be
sleep.
on desktop, yeah.
Ah.
So, whoops. So if you press the next.
No.
Oh yeah, it's. I
Oh,
will.
I see.
See,
Oh,
the last-
this is
the-
really cool.
The last slide is
So this
big
is the
view.
title slide.
So who had the idea of using Prezi?
This is me.
That was
Yeah.
Matthew's
Do
idea.
you use Prezi all the time, or?
Well, I mean, it's a more unique form of PowerPoint. It makes things a lot cooler. So yeah.
And did you do all this work to?
Well, I mean, we all work together. We all picked the common theme, but I kind of worked on organizing the Prezi because
Mhm. We tried to-
I was.
That's the title. There's the intro. There's existing solutions. You have the drive system facts.
Mhm.
And
That's the
just
diagram.
shows the
Right, okay. Very
and
cool.
Sensors and guidance and
And
communication.
have you shared your expertise in Prezi with your colleagues here?
Yes, I'll
Yes.
definitely be using
Yeah.
that in the
Yeah,
future.
we've been using it for the other presentations, like the probabilities presentation.
Ah, also, so you sit
Very
there
helpful.
with your book and show.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your team?
Well, we are this is the first, like, us together.
Is the first year.
We're all first year. You've done this twice, but it's kind of weird. Third year. It's kind of weird because he's the youngest member, and he's the only one with experience.
So they're all 8th graders. I'm a 6th grader, but I've done this twice,
Okay.
and they.
So you were just walking down the street and you found some 8th graders.
Well,
and said,
we
hey,
all-
you join my team. What?
Okay,
Then
so
we
we
all
all
go to
go to
the
the
same
same
middle
middle school, Gasperdi Portola.
Oh, okay. So you're a school-based team,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
or
And we, for our robot mission, robot design, we went to
We
Grapevine.
train at Great Minds.
okay. And what is Great Minds?
It's a robotics studio that is nearby our school,
Mhm.
so we all have
Walking
to.
distance.
Yeah,
So
we all
sometimes after
take
school.
classes there for programming and whatnot, and we decided to do FLL.
Okay, so is that where you guys all hooked up and met and said,
Well,
let's do this?
well, I know Matthew for he's our class. It's kind of how I met Q1.
They're twins, so they kind of know each other.
You would never guess.
Thank you for being in the middle. Otherwise, I would have been totally lost there. Okay. All right. Cool. So tell me something that you didn't know before about floods or your solutions. I want to hear
I
from
can
each
answer
one.
that.
No, hold on. I'll start with you. Yes.
I didn't know that people actually got stranded for like weeks
Mhm.
on end because of a flood. I thought they would just like get evacuated immediately, but apparently they
What
get.
causes that stranding? Do you know? Have you figured that
Because they're flooded, they can't like drive out.
Mm-hmm.
They can't really swim out either because that would be really dangerous.
Mhm.
So they just stay there. and
Okay.
do nothing.
What did you learn?
I learned that how not cost effective rescue helicopters actually are. There are actually less than 20 rescue helicopters in all of California,
Really?
and to start a rescue helicopter anywhere in North America, it costs $16,000 just to start the engine.
Mm-hmm.
So they're usually only used as last resort. So you can't have mass evacuations of cities using rescue helicopters. It just doesn't work.
Okay. Did you learn?
I learned more about how the communication would work and how actually how resourceful it is that, you know, if I see this chair here, I tell Roshan to go around. I mean, if you think about it, it doesn't seem like such a big thing, but it's actually really effective and it can save lives.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I learned the effectiveness of having like a large population of these robots, because you could imagine if we had one bulky robot go to 300 houses, how not efficient that would be, how time consuming that would be. But the conceptualization of having, like, say 24 smaller robots. Much
And
more
like a whole
efficient.
army of these
Yeah.
things.
Right. And
Crawl
they
across the train.
probably carry about 2 crates,
Mhm.
okay, piece.
So
So
we actually calculated the volume it would take, and we estimated that it could carry 1 week's supply of food rations, water, medical supplies for a family of 5 for about 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay, so I love the math. You didn't have the math in your presentation. Work it into your presentation, because that's really cool. Like when you think about the timing of your presentation, you did that in about 3.5 minutes, and you really have 5 minutes, right? So expand, this is a practice tournament, you have lots of room for growth. But that's super exciting to know that you calculated the volume, you know how much this can carry, build those details in. Tell me that you're launching 2 dozen or 3 dozen of these critters, right? Give me an idea on how big it is.
Well, we
okay?
estimated.
No, it's okay, you can answer this, but
Yes.
what I'd like is for this presentation to grow some, because you actually have the room to grow your presentation. I love the Prezi. I don't know how judge-wise, like, because it was sitting here and I didn't know that I could react or touch it or interact with your
Yeah.
computer. So you might want to think about a way to either display it, project it, or somehow walk the judges, who always will be sitting across the table from you, right? Figure out a way to help them work through their through the presentation. Yes.
Well, so the robot we estimated with the volume to consider was about 6 feet long.
6 feet by 3 feet, I
Yes.
think, was
Yeah.
our final.
Okay, so that's a sizable
Yeah.
robot, yeah?
And it's not too big and it's not too small, so it can get easily.
Mhm. So, yeah, it's too big to build a prototype though.
Right.
It's like,
We could build like a small NXT version.
Bring it in with you.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Frightening. Okay,
Several
so,
$1,000 of Legos.
so completely not, I'm taking my judge hat off, and I'm wearing my first shirt still. You guys are 8th graders. This is your last year in this, right? You're aging out. So what are you doing next?
First.